serious. People of Reddit who have practiced or witnessed acts of the witchcraft, voodoo, or the occult. What was the strangest / most unexplainable thing you saw? I rented a house a few years back and never believed in paranormal or any sort of spirits etc. My first week in the house was fine, a few creaks here and there but nothing major. I very soon started to feel like I was being watched or just a presence in general. The third week I started waking up in the middle of the night with large scratched almost cuts going the length of my arm. From my wrist to my armpit, 3 scratches all parallel. Always on my right arm. I didn't think much of it. One night I hear a loud bang and go to the back and notice my back door was open. Okay, no worries. I shut and lock the door with a deadbolt. Next morning I wake up and the door is wide open, but the freaky part, the deadbolt is still in the locked position as well as the knob. It really starts to freak me out now. I start telling a person I work with about this stuff. He told me his sister was a Native American shaman, priestess, whatever it was, and she would come sage bless my house if I wanted. The next week she came over with, I believe it was called sweetgrass and sage. She burned the sage walking around and told me she can definitely feel a presence in the house. She hung the sweetgrass over my bed and ever since I haven't had anything strange happen. Very strange. That's called smudging. Very traditional. Sweetgrass smells really nice too. This is a pretty mundane story, but I feel it captures something of what real magic might be like. I sued to work in an occult bookstore. We sold mostly psychic nonsense and spiritualistic new age stuff. But there was a bookcase in the back with the real expensive stuff. And the owner was this real wise man. This woman used to come in when I was working and she'd just talk. For ages and ages. It was a non-stop stream of bullshit. She knew this. She did that. Did you know about this? On and on. She'd suck up a ton of time. If you've ever heard the term energy vampire, it would apply here. When she left, you'd just feel drained. One day she comes in while the owner is there. She walks up to the counter and starts her shtick, and he's very polite and listening. But she just sort of runs out of steam. Like within 60 seconds, she hums and haws a bit and then walks out of the store. It would usually take me an hour to get rid of her, and he shut her down in a minute flat with a smile on his face. I mention it to him and he says there's a circle of protection painted under the floor for a reason. These stories remind me of my youth. I once met one guy on the internet who practiced stuff. Before we ever met, I told him to make a summoning circle. Like the ones you do when trying to reach a deceased person. But to reach me instead of someone deceased. At that time I was quite delusional about my body. I consider my chest narrow and fat, but everyone else would say I'm very broad, strong and muscular. But we only had each other's close-up face selfies. No way to see the body types. So he made the summoning circle and tried to summon me, but it didn't seem to work. Then we both went to sleep. The next morning he said he had a dream about me. And told me that he saw me looking very strong and muscular with broad shoulders. But I also had a dream where I saw him. He was very skinny. Then we met in real life to verify that. I was exactly like in his dream and he was exactly like in my dream. He even had the same scent about him. This happened a few years ago. I was on a dating site and matched with an attractive person. So I started chatting. We made it to the plans tonight part of the conversation, and she told me she was going to play hide and seek with Fluffy. Pointing out the item in their second profile picture. A bloody rabbit mask. Okay, let's be weird. So I played along until she mentioned that they would be playing in my basement. I thought, how in the hell? Wild guess probably. I lied and told her I didn't have a basement. Immediately she texted oh yeah, and I heard a loud noise booming from the basement. I won't lie to you, Reddit. I about shit myself. Obviously I blocked her and froze for an hour before I gather the courage to check my completely enclosed from the outside basement. I didn't find anything, thankfully. I didn't have a smart device at all, and I didn't have any speakers that could have been hacked. I didn't even have wireless internet at the time. The basement was completely empty. I can't explain in the slightest. That gave me the heebie-jeebies, man. My mom and I are both practitioners of witchcraft. I am a white witch while my mom is a dark witch, which means she deals with hexes, curses, etc. My mom has hexed people in the past that have hurt her or her family. She is not afraid of karma or the rule of 3. One of the curses I saw was when I was a child. There was a man who worked with my stepfather who would constantly steal clients from him or take credit for my stepfather's work. He actively tried to sabotage my stepfather's employment and my mother got fed up. She performed a hex on him and within days the guy had fallen from favor at work. All his clients were cancelling appointments for various reasons. His deals were falling through. His hair was thinning from stress and his family was going through economic hardships, etc. The guy's life completely did a 180 and to this day he hasn't fully recovered from it. He still struggles with making sales and is constantly getting on his employer's nerves. Another time an old friend of mine and I had an awful falling out. Her betrayal really hurt me and I fell into depression for a long while. She tried turning friends against me and did everything she could to hurt me. My mother decided to return some of that negative energy her way and performed a hex. I didn't know it at the time, otherwise I would have told her not to, but she put a curse on her and her family. Well, within days everything went wrong. Her family fell into economic hardships and they lost the family car and almost lost their house. Her father had a stroke out of nowhere and with no family history of it. Thankfully nothing serious, but was bedridden for days and couldn't work. Her schoolwork suffered and her family had a period of real tough times. My mom didn't tell me what she had done until months later, at which point I was terrified of her. Magic isn't something to be done lightly and hexes especially are dangerous things. I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. But my mom actively practices them. I worry when karma comes to collect. I went to a voodoo shop in New Orleans that had a lot of signs up that said no pictures. My boyfriend's mom wanted some voodoo dolls and wanted to see pictures of them before he bought it. I told him not to because I had a bad feeling about it. Immediately after taking the picture his cell phone lost signal. Mine was totally fine. He couldn't send the picture, so we walked outside and a car drove by and splashed him with water, but I was dry. Freaked us out. I told him to delete the pictures and we had to buy the 2 dolls he took pictures of. I went to NOLA this past fall. Place has a vibe. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more Reddit After Dark. Have a good night.